Hi, my name is Razink, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of DropChain. Today, we're going to show you how to create token or NFT metadata and pin it to IPFS using the DropChain API. This is going to be a full experience, right? We're not just going to be pinning it metadata. We're going to make an NFT. We're going to create metadata. We're going to attach the metadata to the NFT, and we're going to grab that information from the NFT and then look at it on IPFS. So we're going to go through the whole process. If you haven't yet, please create a free account on DropChain.network and do the quick start guide. You can build both no code and code. You don't have to know anything about crypto to get started. No Web3 smart contract experience needed. In fact, we have many apps that have built no code apps, or many builders who have built no code apps on DropChain. But we recommend the quick start guide so that you have sort of the basic setup required, like your developer console, which we have set up here. Here's your API dashboard. We want to walk you through that, generate an API key, and get started. So that's the first thing. In order to use this guide, we're going to show you how to do this with our DropChain tutorial app, which uses the JavaScript framework. So as you can see here, we're going to go to create IPFS metadata. This is using the JavaScript flow, and this looks very similar to this. And so if you know how to code, you can integrate these APIs into your app very easily and get that Web3 experience without needing to have contracts. You can just use the APIs and do stuff like create metadata through IPFS because we handle that all for you. But if you don't, that's okay. I'd recommend using the DropChain tutorial app and kind of following along. And so for each of our API calls, there are two parts. We have the API key, and that API key for us is handled on our back end, and that's where you should handle it too. Thankfully, this is a test sort of setup, and so we're pasting this right here, hard coding it in plain text. We recommend you use best practices where you can and do this safely and securely. But for now, we're going to have this API key here. And for the case of, say, create asset metadata, we're sending this from the front end to the back end server. Create asset metadata. We're attaching the API key, and then that's being sent to the DropChain API. And so this is managed for you with the DropChain tutorial app. But like I said, if you know how to do this, then you can do it how you prefer. And we're going to start by just setting up and walking through each of these key pieces. So first, before we get started, we're going to add the app ID and the user ID. And so if we go to the API dashboard, the API console on the DropChain console.dropchain.network, you can create a free account and do that very easily. Paste in your app ID. And then we're going to paste in our user1 test user. And then now we're going into the actual metadata flow. So this is a very standard, this is actually the OpenSea standard that we're using here. And there's a couple pieces. So it's very intuitive, right? You have a description here. So maybe I'll just kind of work through each of these pieces. This test description. We have an external URL. So maybe you have a website, you have a Discord link, you have a Twitter URL. We're just getting to DropChain.network because that's kind of where you got to go to get started with this. We'll come back to this traits. Your image URL is going to be somewhere, something that is up to you on how you want to implement. I recommend if you want to upload your actual images to a IPFS decentralized setup, I would recommend the NFT storage. You can add free storage for NFTs onto IPFS. It's free to get started, and you upload them, and then you'll get a URI, and that'll look like a long string of random letters. And then otherwise, you can just upload them to like Google Drive and copy that URL. It's kind of up to you, but thankfully, you actually can upgrade your metadata, so you don't have to worry if you put the wrong URL. You can fix that. There's a tutorial coming after this. But for now, let's just assume that we have some basic IPFS. I don't remember. Let's try to find a IPFS. Sure, this is let's just do like Google. Let's just take the Google logo, right? copy image address. We're going to put that into here. If you were to upload to IPFS, this is the convention you IPFS : / and then the hash. So if you had, a hash that was like QM blah 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 blah, that's what it would look like. You would do that, and you'd be good. Otherwise, I'm gonna just paste the Google logo here. This is gonna be the name of your metadata. So DropChain metadata title. And then we're gonna go back to traits. Traits is an optional flag. You can do false or you can do true. If it's false, everything down here you can just leave blank because it's not gonna be included within the metadata. So it's saying, does it have traits? No, it doesn't. It's false. So then don't use any of these trait type or values. If it is true and you do want to include traits, just put it as true. And how this works is each trait has a key and a value. And so it has a trait type. Maybe I have a game and I want to do a blue sword, or I'm going to say sword color, and then trait value to be blue. And so that's saying maybe you have a bunch of different colored swords and this is a blue one. Or maybe you want to say rarity and then you'd say ultra rare. Or maybe you want to describe the NFT and you have a series of NFTs that have like a Bored Ape kind of style NFT collection where they have like nose, and then we would have like nose ring or something because they have a nose ring piercing, right? Whatever it may be, you can add these trait types, which is what is the trait that you have? What's the sword color? What's the nose type? What's the rarity? Whatever that may be. You can even include other things like what blockchain is it from? If you're using cross-chain NFTs, which we support, maybe you want to say Ethereum. You can fill these out up to 8 of them. You can add up to 8 values. And then for session 1 token, you could ignore that because we're testing. But for now, I'm just going to leave that empty so you can kind of see what that would look like. And I've saved this. And so now we're going to go to create IPFS metadata page on our test account. We're going to create IPFS metadata. We're going to send the request. And then we should get information saying, oh, there you go. So here's the information about the metadata. We have a hash here. And we're going to take that hash, and this is going to be our IPFS hash. This is pinned to IPFS now. So if I went to IPFS, I'm using some conventional IPFS bridge that allows me to access content on IPFS. I can paste it, and now we see all of our information here. We have our test description we included here. We have the DropChain.network URL. We have the Google logo we included. The metadata title, all the attributes here. We have a standard, which is ARC69. That's just sort of the way we're organizing this metadata standard. And there you go. We've created our metadata. But now we need to add that to an NFT that we want to mint. And so as we go through here, we have gone through the process of creating a metadata. And we're now going to mint an NFT or token, and then within the URL, we're going to include it like this. Exactly how we talked about this earlier. We're going to say IPFS : / your IPFS metadata hash from step 1. And so let's do it. Let's go back to asset mint. I have some of these fields already filled in from the previous tutorial. I just put the app ID from the console, user1 user ID from the console. The URL is going to change. We're going to do IPFS : / and paste the metadata we just created. And then maybe we want to change this. We're going to do like a rare sword Ethereum NFT. Yeah, right? Rare sword Ethereum NFT. Razink. And then we only want to have one. We're creating it with 0 decimals, and that's it, right? So now we have this asset ID, asset URL rather, storing the IPFS hash in a correct way, and that's the industry standard way. And so we're going to save this, and then we're going to mint the NFT. So we're just going to send a transaction to mint it with that information. And there we go, we see the information there. I'm gonna copy the transaction ID just to take a look at it. We see the rare sort ID, we see the URL, which is mapped back to what we have here, which is exactly what we want. You see there's only one rare sort NFT, and just like that, we have the IPFS URL, we have all the information we need, and we've attached it successfully to the NFT. And so we're now going to go through the process of grabbing the asset information with the get asset info endpoint, and then we're going to read it. We're going to read that asset information from the metadata hash. So imagine you only know the asset ID of the token that we have, right? This asset ID, you only know that. You don't know what the IPFS metadata, but you want to grab it, right? You want to see what that information is. You want to see what the image is from the NFT. So we're going to go and we're going to add get asset metadata. We're going to include the asset ID here, and then we're going to grab the app ID and the user ID and add it to this as well. And this is on the get asset metadata page. So we've saved that, and now we're going to go to the get asset metadata. We're going to send the request, and we're going to get a bunch of information about this asset. A lot of it's not going to be relevant. Like what's the round it was created at? I don't really care about that. Is it deleted? I hope not, because I haven't deleted it. The index is the asset ID, and you're going to get some information about who owns what, but you're also going to get information about the URL. And so when that's returned, you're going to grab the URL, you're going to copy this IPFS URL right here, this hash. And instead of having to go to this page, you could use your own IPFS tool if you want to grab this information, if you don't want to use what we've provided, but we happen to have a tool for you. Get metadata from IPFS hash. You're going to paste the hash into the asset metadata hash, and you're going to also grab your app ID and user ID, just like you do for every other call. And so imagine you just saw the asset ID, you grabbed the asset ID, you put it in the get asset metadata, you see the URL, you grab the hash, and then now we want to get metadata from IPFS hash. We're going to send the request, and then you're going to be able to get that information as so. You see here's this attributes, the sort color, the rarity, the nose ring, blockchain is Ethereum, just like we did it. This is accessible on IPFS as well as through our tool. And then all the information you need to grab images that are saved in your NFT itself. And so just like that, we have created metadata through IPFS using DropChain. We have appended it to an NFT and we've minted that NFT, or tokens, right? It doesn't just have to be NFTs. We have grabbed the asset ID, got the metadata for the NFT, and then got the actual metadata from the hash, all without needing to know anything about smart contracts, just using our DropChain API. And with these tools, with the DropChain API, you can build a robust Web3 app using just API calls. No need to know about anything about smart contracts, and we handle all of the infrastructure for you. Please, if you haven't yet, make a free account on dropchain.network to get started, 100% free, and join the Discord. Myself, as well as Nate, my co-founder, we are in there 24/7 helping builders like yourself build their first Web3 app. Both code and no code, any level of skill we are accepting of, you can get started today, absolutely free. What are you waiting for? Get in there. Thanks.